Well, yes, indeed, you've arrived. You're in the place. It's the home of the Passionate Producers Podcast. I'm your host, Madjef Music. We're going to get right into it, hopefully giving you some information. You can use it. Do whatever you please with it, but let me turn this music down. We can get right into it. My first ever podcast. So welcome to the Passionate Producers Podcast. My name is Madjef Music. You know, I've been in this game a long time, and you know, some of the things that I've seen and heard, you know, have really kind of stuck with me over the years, you know what I mean? And in my older years, I think that the thing that I want to do most is share, you know, what I know and help people as they, you know, venture into this music industry thing, you know, and kind of talk about the things that drive me as a producer, the things that encourage me and motivate me to want to be creative and to want to produce, the things that I like that other people are doing that I admire and that makes me want to listen to them, because right now I'm in a state where, you know, I'm not really trying to listen to everything that's out there because I understand how this, you know, the cycles go and what's popular and why it's popular and how come that song sounds just like that song. For me right now, the problem that I got in music in general and popular music is that all the songs are like throwaway songs to me. There's like classic songs aren't being made anymore, you know, and excuse me, I'm spoiled because, you know, I come from the jam&lewis flight time camp where every song was a masterpiece, and it was, and the effort and the time and energy was put into it to kind of carve it into a masterpiece, something that would live and be timeless. And that was the message. Like, we want this to be timeless, you know, to last forever, you know what I mean? And that's not really what I'm seeing right now, you know what I mean, in terms of music, because listen, I tell people all the time, especially at parties, this is one of my favorite things to do. I'll be like, listen, so tell me, you like popular music? Yeah. Oh, I love this artist right here. Oh, that's my jam. Okay, that's your jam right there. I feel you. So do me a favor. Last summer, just name me 2 hit songs from last summer. Silence. Crickets in the room, because nobody can remember nothing. You know, you can remember a movement like the Migos or whatever else, you know what I'm saying? Or you know that Tyga might have come back and had another hit or whatever, but you don't know what it is, and you know, you can't remember it because you can't distinguish it from the year he did the one song about, you know, you can get a taste, to, you know, from the other song, which was a similar message and a similar beat at an exact same tempo, saying you had your taste or whatever is the next thing up. And I don't know, but this is what I do know, is that music shouldn't be so throwaway. Like, don't throw this away. Like, spend some time, let's craft some songs with some changes, some chord changes, you know what I'm saying, and make stuff interesting again. You know what I mean? Make music interesting, and I'm partly to blame, because in my career in the mid 2000s and the early 2000s, late 90s, I was heavily responsible for creating sample-based music and chopping up beats and selling sample CDs. I mean, I was a top seller on East West with my Black Butter sample series. You know, for years running. I did a total of 5 releases on that, where I was just, you know, chopping up beats, playing chords, chopping them up, flipping them, and so forth. And, you know, with the goal being to simplify music at that time, that was what I was thinking was happening, is I was just simplifying the music, you know what I mean, and making it accessible to anybody. Boy, did I ever. My effort just certainly made it accessible to each and every person. So now you can run out and get a drum machine, and you can get my CD and sample these beats, and you can be making music. And unfortunately, if enough people get to moving like that and grooving like that and sampling like that, it could change the face of music as we know it. And it's kind of what's happened, you know, to a certain degree, where things are, you know, really kind of, you know, all similar sounding and all made from the same, you know, painted on the same canvas, you know, or something, you know, that's kind of what it seems like. But some artists are reaching out and stretching out and trying to be a little bit different, trying to be a little bit more creative, and they'll throw on one song on their hip hop album that has acoustic guitars or whatever on it and a jangly sound or whatever. There's that one track, but then the rest of it is all the same fodder that everybody else is doing, trying to sound commercial, sell records, get into a time slot, so you can do shows and bounce the crowd. Everybody bounce, 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 bounce. And that's what it's about, man. That's what the live game is about. That's what the music business is about, getting paid in the live game, doing shows, being hot, blowing up, getting paid. That's what this is about. The Passionate Producers podcast is all about, like, my individual feelings about the music industry, where it's headed, where it's been, my role in it. And I'm just excited to have an opportunity really to be able to share with people, some of my insight. You know what I mean? I have a lot to say. I figure I'm just going to say it to a bunch of you guys, a bunch of bloggers, and a bunch of guys that are interested deeply in music and are passionate about their futures in music, as opposed to like spitting all these words at my girl, because the other day she like raised her hand and she was like, all right, you're talking too much. And I was like, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And I was like, damn, I thought I was spitting game. But she was like, you talking too much. So I'd rather be spitting all these words at you homies than spitting them at my girl, because obviously less is more in the world of a girl. Especially, when you're me and you're just trying to keep it real mellow. You're not really trying to have no issues, because you want everything to flow naturally, flow right from dinner into the, chill, the Netflix and chill stage. And from there, right into some, whatever the night brings. But hopefully it's all mellow, fellow, very mellow. And, she's good. But no words are necessary. So I'm going to exhaust myself on these podcasts talking to you guys about music and what my thoughts are about music. I noticed recently that, podcasts are growing in popularity, and I can't believe I haven't done a podcast as of yet. But my goal is to build this podcast, to get some exciting guests, maybe to come on and do some stuff with me, to keep it interesting and fun, hopefully. And, most importantly, just to share the knowledge that I have, the thoughts that I have, the processes that I'm going through, things I'm working on, what I'm doing. Like, for example, I've been really working my business, side, wearing that business hat quite a bit over the last couple years. Music is, and the commodity of music is very important to me. I have media and my books. I'm an author with my books, Grab Your Gear and Go, best cities for musicians and stuff like that, and music for love or money and that kind of thing. These are all books that also will, cover the subjects that I'm talking about here now. It'll cover the subjects about which cities are best to be in, what situation to be like in a band when you're in a band, how to handle those attitudes and deal with people in situations when you're brand new and hoping to sign a contract. How much of yourself do you give? I mean, there's just so much really to learn, man, and to share, that I didn't have a chance. There weren't any podcasts when I was coming up, man, and I had to bang my head, to learn the things that I'm sharing. So I hope, that I can develop an audience that will appreciate this content and rock with me, rock with your boy, because, man, it's really just about getting out here, exploring this podcast market, and moving forward. But what I was saying a second ago is that, I've been busy, wearing my business hat, and multiple streams of income is important to me, and that's one of the things I probably touch on during my podcast. But my books and my music CDs, my Amazon and eBay businesses and so forth. I like to diversify my income, keep a nice stream of income coming from all directions. It kind of frees up the mind. You don't necessarily have to be at millionaire status, but that if a check is not coming from one direction you expect it to, but you've got three others coming from three other directions, it covers you nicely and gives you a nice chance to to create your flow and get your situate your life and get get into the position you want to be in, as opposed to falling back 5 or 10 steps because you don't have the money that somebody promised you. That's the real life. The real life is that that check might not arrive when somebody says it was mailed. You know what I mean? Because the reality is they might not have mailed it. I hate to be the one to break that to you, but that is the reality, especially in show business. So understand, having some other ways to make money is kind of key. And I get the whole thing where you want to starve, and I did myself as a listen. When I left the Air Force and I moved to New York City to follow my dream as a musician, I arrived in New York City with a van load of guitars and amplifiers and stuff like that I had accumulated during my years in the Air Force, my 4 years in the Air Force, and drove it up from Florida. I used to camp out in this van. It had customized interior. In the back was a bed. The ceiling was all plush. You know what I mean? Had little speakers in the walls, little portable TV. I lived in this van. It was awesome. I mean, I didn't live in it per se, but when I went to the beach, I camped out in it, and me and girls were always in it. It was great. It was my music van. Anyway, when I was discharged from the Air Force, I drove that sucker straight up the coast to Manhattan, right into Brooklyn, and with all those dreams of grandeur about making it happen and getting out here and getting on and hitting the ground running. And I drove over in the Flatbush with my girlfriend to visit her sister. We stopped by her apartment and everything, said hi to her, big hugs, and came back downstairs, and that van was gone, stolen. Somebody stole my van with all of my stuff in it. And I wondered for a second, am I in the right place even? Maybe I just I parked in the wrong place. Maybe I'm just not in the place I thought I parked, because this can't possibly happen. I'm just getting ready to hit the ground running. This is the early 80s, right? So, just when I was in doubt as to whether or not I was in the right spot, I looked down on the ground, and the guy was nice enough to have thrown my insurance papers out the window. There they are, sitting on the curb. I pick them up, and it just says Jeff Taylor, insurance, blah, blah, blah. And that was great. I could have found those numbers on my own, even if he hadn't done that or whatever. It was the heartbreak that I experienced right there, the welcome to New York moment that said, none of this is going to be easy for you, man. And if you thought it was going to be easy, you were wrong. And, from there, I went on to living, for the next several years on egg rolls, 2 egg rolls a day, just to make it through. Life is tough, man. But I gigged, and I played with bands, and I got to know my instrument. I got to know some people, and eventually I made some connections. I got up and moved to Minneapolis, and I started working in the industry. But boy, I tell you what, it doesn't seem that long ago when I was living on 2 egg rolls a day, and when nothing was going my way. So many years later, a lot of hard-earned stripes, and I'm just looking to get you guys into my army. We're going to kick it like that, like it's real. This is the Passionate Producers Podcast. And when I say passionate, I do mean passionate. Sometimes I get a little hype, I yell, I scream, but guess what, man? That's what it is, babe. This is my podcast. I can say what I want to say. My language ain't going to be too foul, because I respect all of my listeners, young and old. But I tell you what, my viewpoints will be strictly mine, and I guarantee they will be unfiltered. But they will relate solely to the music business, making money doing the music business thing, multiple streams of income, just lifting yourself up, being a better person, musician, making it happen, and making a dream come true, one that most people aspire to or dream of, but never ever obtain. Be one of those people that obtains his dream by focusing on it and just charging ahead like a bull in that direction. This is the Passionate Producers Podcast. I'm your host, Madjef. Until next time, this is episode 1. I'm signing